Good evening. Tonight is Monday, January the 9th, and this is the Cabarrus County Board of Education business meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. To begin with, we'll have Mr. Chuck Taylor leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. And that will bring us to setting the agenda. Board members, is there a motion to set the agenda as written tonight? I believe it is. Yes. This is adjusted from the recognition, so. All right, is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Mr. Walters and Mr. Harrison have made a motion and seconded it. All in favor of this motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, that motion carries 7-0, Ms. Monroe. That takes us to 4.1, which is the approval of the minutes from the December 5th work session and the December 12th business meeting. Is there a motion to approve both sets of minutes as written? All right, Mr. Furr makes the motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Yes, ma'am.
Did Ms. Monroe get her information she did not have in the last?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so open for discussion, and Ms. Monroe, you did get the information? Okay. All right, board members, that means we're ready to vote. All in favor of approving the minutes as written for both December the 5th and December the 12th, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. And that motion carries 7-0. That carries us into reports, and I'll defer to Dr. Lowder, 5.2, his comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll begin tonight by welcoming back everyone from the winter break. I hope your time off was enjoyable and relaxing. We want to emphasize that January is School Board Appreciation Month. And on behalf of the 32,000 students and 4,000 employees of Cabarrus County Schools, I want to let our distinguished board know how much we appreciate your commitment and dedication to our system and students. So thank you for serving on the school board. As we did have a statement about how we were heading into the time of year where weather can be an issue. And so we are obviously out today, and we have already made the call that we will not have students tomorrow, but we will have a teacher work day that we're swapping out for the 23rd. So rather than try to go through that, because it gets a little confusing, I'm just going to say that we're definitely not going to have students tomorrow, and refer everyone, if they're watching, to our website for clarification on those days, because again, you get into different categories and it gets a little confusing. We do have some important dates and events. The district spelling bee right now is scheduled for Wednesday, January 11th. Assuming that we're going to come back on Wednesday, that will stay in place. Our district will be closed on Monday, January 16th to observe the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. And then, again, we want to emphasize that Thursday, January 26th, is our financial aid night, which I know has been advertised on our webpage, and just refer parents and students for lots of good information there for them to come out and get. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lowder. At this point, it's now our portion of the program where we have guest speakers to address the board. Currently, there are no guest speakers who have signed up. However, in accordance with Board Policy 2310, as revised by the Board on May 11, 2015, a part of each business meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the Board. Sign-up cards will be available for any individual or group to indicate their desire to address the Board. Speakers must hand a completed card to the Board clerk no later than 6 p.m. or the normal start time of the regularly scheduled monthly business meeting. The board chair will decide the time devoted to public comments. Speakers must complete a contact information card including their name, the group name, if applicable, address, and phone number, and list the general education-related topic of their presentation for the board minutes. Seeing that there are no speakers, we will move on to approval of the consent agenda. Board members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as we've written here?
So moved.
All right, Ms. Furtenbaugh makes the motion. Mr. Harrison, you take a second? All right, is there any more discussion, on the consent agenda? All right, let's vote on that. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as written, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, that motion is carried 7-0, and now we move on to approval of our budget amendment number 2 to the local fund. Ms. Klutz, if you'll come to the podium. And board members, are there any other questions for this, for Ms. Klutz? Mr. Powell?
I don't know if I have any questions, but I just would like to say one more time that it's not very often that we get a chance to have unbudgeted funds in the amount of $700,000 that we could use towards teacher supplement. And given the fact that we just gave a bonus to our non-teaching staff, we reworked it to make it a little bit more advantageous for the lower end of the salary spectrum. I was proud of the board for doing that. And then we've also adjusted recently the classified pay scale. We've also given principals a significant bump. I think it's time to use this money for teacher supplements instead of contracting population studies, scanning student records, changing out cameras on buses. I just think there's a better use for that money. And when I think of how we can impact students most directly, putting that money in teachers' pockets, to me makes most sense. Getting it further away from teachers by these other things, I don't know that that's the impact that I feel comfortable with. I'm not sure where everybody else stands.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Ms. Carpenter, would you like to speak?
Well, one comment I'd like to make. One of the things we had increased the supplement also before we did the bumps on the for the non-certified. Is that correct? We had done that also. We had increased that. The things that you are referring to, one of them was $195,310. Now, my understanding, the cameras for the buses, that wasn't replacement. That was some additional ones. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
additional
additional bus
cameras that we didn't have, so it's not replacement of some.
That's
And
correct.
we have found over and over, those cameras on buses have paid off tenfold. That's something that we need to do for safety of the students, for so many reasons. We found those to be very important. So that 310 and 195,000, if you put that with how many teachers we have, that would be very, very minimum. My thing, if we're going to increase the supplement, it has to be really worthwhile. I mean, if you're looking at $50 or whatever for a supplement, by the time you take away taxes and everything on that, that's not much. When I do something, I really want to make it worthwhile. And we are planning on using this amount. It's a reoccurring cost, and our plans is to put that towards supplements next go around. These things that we're referring to are things that have been put off and put off and put off, especially the scanning of the records, which has cost time. And those records, if we keep putting it off, they're going to disintegrate, and we're not going to have anything at all where we can go back and see if a person has graduated or when they need the records aren't going to be there because the mice are going to eat them or something's going to happen. I mean, I'm just being realistic about this because they have been stored and, you know, paper can only last so long. And I know being on the budget committee, we have pushed this thing off and pushed it off and pushed it off, and it's something that's has got to be done. And of course, it keeps going to the bottom because we see other things that we know are necessary. So, you know, it's something that must be done. So, you know, and with this, like I say, when I do something, I do want to make it worthwhile. And our teachers are very important. And like I say, we have done something this past year in the range of supplements for the teachers. It's not like we haven't done anything at all. And that's just a statement that I want to make.
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. Are there any other,
Yeah,
Mr. Furr?
Yeah, I'd like to say I agree with Ms. Carpenter from what I remember and what I've gathered, and I may be wrong, but I think this board since the school year 14-15, I think it was a 20% increase, 15-16, 7% increase, 16-17, a 5% increase. So I think this board has probably done more for teachers in their pay structure than any board that we finally got a chance, along with the county, working hand in hand with the county commissioners. And it's like out in the comment I made last week, it's not that we're not going to, we're just delaying it. And so I think it's a win-win. And, you know, I may be out of line here, but you know, I've never been a teacher like Mr. Powell has, but I've coached football with a lot of with teachers and high school teachers and coaches, and I don't think any of them do it for money. I mean, yeah, we want to, it's a passion. It's almost like a calling. And, I mean, I appreciate them, and, you know, we do about as much as we can for them. And like I said, I think this board certainly understands, you know, and want to do everything we can to help. And it's not that we're not going to, it's just a delay. Am I correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, I would reiterate that we are increasing teacher supplements with this money.
Mr.
Ms.
Chair,
Furtenbaugh?
I'd just like to say, Mr. Powell, I appreciate your opinion. Having gone through quite a few budgets over prior years and knowing these items never make the cut, but at some point we have to ante up and do them, I honestly look forward to seeing the budget sessions that are coming up in the next month, 6 weeks, and not having these on there anymore and being able to check them off and be done. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we approve budget amendment to the changes to local fund.
Second. Ms. Furtenbaugh makes a motion to approve the budget amendments as written. Mr. Harrison seconds that motion. Is there any more discussion on this? Mr. Walters?
On your budget document that had the scanning of records at 185,000, why is it more than it was?
It was also 154,000 earlier as well.
Right, in earlier budget committee documents that you retrieved, and in the document that is prior to getting a new estimate. So when you wait a year or 2 years or 3 years, the price increases a little bit. So we've got a new estimate, and
So
it's
it's
that
a
amount.
new cost. Okay, thank you.
Or
Ms.
quote.
Powell, do you have another comment?
Yes, sir. You know, we talk a lot about teacher support, but in this new opportunity that we're given, we are not supporting teachers like we should. And it's troubling to me that those individuals that are closest to the students that we serve are not able to have any benefit by this additional $700,000. And like I said at the work session, I think we need to put our money where our mouth is, and if we say we're supporting teachers, then we need to look for ways to support them at every turn. And having them wait until November or December of next year to reap benefits of this is just not acceptable to me. That's why I can't support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. I just want to reiterate that this $700,000 that we're deferring to to purchase these other items will be folded into the normal continuation budget. So we will not be asking for this money from the commissioners next year, and it will go directly towards teacher pay. So starting July 1st, which will probably be around November of this year, that money will be folded into teachers' pay, and it will be there at that point in time. So it's not like we're not supporting the teachers, I believe. And at the same time, we won't have to ask for this money again. The only way we would lose this money is if our enrollment were to decline in some way or form, and that would cause us to have a reduced budget from the commissioners. So I believe we're safe in this, in my personal feeling. Also, I've been on the budget committee since 2011, and since 2011, I've seen scanning of documents, of student records. We've always had issues with cameras on buses, and actually our bus fleet has increased quite a bit since 2011. And then the whole issue with redistricting, as a result of growth, we've got to have this studied, and we want to make sure that the study that we have, that the public can look at it and say that we didn't just make it up ourselves, but an independent party came in here, looked at our situation, and gave us some recommendations. Now, we have the option of going with those recommendations or not, but that will be something that will be forthcoming. Do you know what date did you think, if we were to get this contract started, when we would see the redistricting?
Ms. Rhymer does.
So initially, we're in our first year, it's a 3-year contract. In our first year, we'll receive a 10-year forecast around the first week in February, and then we'll get a full build-out of all of Cabarrus County the 1st of March, and then they'll begin looking at Royal Oaks, because that's the first one on board for us as far as redistricting, as well as trying to keep in mind the middle and high school realignment for 2019. So it's a 3-year contract, and we've got all the different things.
So you actually have a schedule of dates and all with that?
Yeah, and they also have agreed to be very flexible with us within that contract, and our attorneys have looked at that and said they're really comfortable, so that if something occurs that we need to do, and you guys will probably hear about this in your retreat, but
Okay. So we'll be seeing more of this in the retreat?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Question.
All right,
One
Mr.
question.
Walter?
So that's 75,000, that's for the 3 years, or it's 75,000 a year? For all 3 years. And then the second question I had was related to the teacher allotments when we had the we lost a bunch of teachers due to we lost a bunch of teachers. We didn't lose teachers, but we lost the funding for the teachers with the flexibility.
Right.
And there was a plan there to make that up.
Yes, sir.
Where are we with that plan?
Unfortunately, I can't tell you exactly where we are right now because I'm working with the state on what our numbers are and what our allotment is. And so Dr. Lowder and I have been working with Philip Price and Alexis to kind of nail that down. We're about $500,000 apart right now. So we're finishing up those conversations, and when I finish up those conversations, I can tell you, but unfortunately, I can't tell you right now.
When do you think that'll be?
I think it'll be soon. I think it'll be this month.
Okay.
We were hoping to have that conversation before we left for Christmas, but we were not able to, the things that are going on at DPI right now.
Okay. Other comments? Dr. Harrison? Mr. Harrison.
I'll take doctor, but it's undeserved, but I appreciate it. When I believe the teacher supplement's gone up about 33% in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, once we roll in this money, we'll be almost 40%. And number-wise, if you take an average teacher supplement was about $22.45 back in when we did the first salary supplement salary study, and we're projecting to be at now. And this projection it's not going to be $34.78. It might be $34.75. It might be $34.80 or something like that. But $3,500 or $3,400 after we implement this July 1st increase, I mean that's $1,200-$1,300 increase over the last couple of years on a supplement, which is big numbers.
What I'm hearing is that we indeed do support our
We do.
teachers.
We
Thank
do.
you.
All right. Board members, it's time to call the question. All in favor of the motion that approves budget amendment number 2 to the local fund, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay. That motion passes 6-1. It carries us to approval of policy 4700 on the second reading. Ms. Rhymer, if you'll come to the podium. Board members, are there any questions for her regarding 4,700 or any comments?
Well, you know where I stand on 4,700. I think all of you know where I stand on 4,700. And basically, you will see me not vote for 4,700. And basically, why I do not support 4,700 is because of the makeup, what we basically pick out to put in 4,700 for the criteria for what we pick out to put, what we want to see in the student records. And that is our choice, what we decide we want to have for the student records. And this is one reason I do not agree with it. I personally feel like we put too much information out there for the student record. Now, again, this is my feeling. And so this is why I cannot support this policy. And so this is why I am not in favor of this policy. And so that's my comment.
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. Ms. Furtenball.
Ms. Carpenter, I just want to ask which particular items you're concerned about, because you have to have enough identifiable information to be sure you have the right records to submit for verification of diploma and so on.
Well, that's your opinion. I mean, everybody says, oh, well, we have to have, we have to have, to me, we could have the student's name, we could have their date of birth. Why do we need their weight and height and the member of their athletic team? Why do we have to have, the awards they were? I mean, they could notify the parents and all this stuff if they really needed all this other information and things like that. Put their name, their address, their date of birth. I would be happy and dandy with that. And if you wanted other information, contact the parent and get that information. I just think we're asking for too much information, for this type of things. That's, to me, we're just asking for too much information. All this other stuff, I mean, you're listing A through M. That's just a lot of information that you're putting down there that they have to have, and I just think it's too much information for it, and that's just my personal opinion. Again, I just think it's too much information. Some people say, oh, well, the military needs it. Personally, I don't see why we need to be supplying stuff to the military on my child. Again, that's my personal opinion, and I don't think we should be supplying stuff for the military. And again, that's, my personal opinion on it.
Yeah, just to be clear, though, we do have an opt-out policy for parents that don't want their names included. So if it wasn't for that, I think I understand that. But there is an opt-out.
And it's my understanding that this particular edit to the policy is an exclusion of information regarding McKinney-Vento students. I mean, I understand Ms. Carpenter's point about what to include, but this is a statement which indicates that we will exclude data on that class of the population of our students. So, I mean, in that sense, that's a good thing, but I understand the larger picture that Ms. Carpenter is getting at. And I support the policy change, such as it is.
Okay.
With some interest, in future discussions of other adjustments we could make.
They have the URSA as why this is put in place. Is that correct, the attorney? URSA is why we have this policy?
FERPA?
FERPA. I knew it
Yes,
was
ma'am.
one of those type things. But our board has the authority to say what we're going to put on here. We can go through and say, we want da. I mean, we have that authority to say. We could come back and say, we just want the name. If we wanted to have that, we just want the student's name. Could we not do that if we wanted to?
Yes, ma'am. The board under FERPA does have the right to designate what information it
I mean,
wants
we
to
could come back
designate
and say that's
as
the only thing we wanted on there.
directory information. I will say one of the reasons this list you all have is the generally accepted list that most school districts use, particularly in the high school setting, to further restrict this information is viewed by many, and I know you have a different opinion, as potentially harming students. You wouldn't be able to have a program for a high school play that lists students in there. You wouldn't be able to post your honor roll in the lobby of your school, or you wouldn't be able to have at a ball game a roster of the players and to know how tall they were and things like that. So those are the reasons why this information is typically included, particularly for high school age students. But it is all governed by FERPA, and the board can decide what it wants to designate and not designate as directory.
And maybe I'm one of these who say, that's that crazy lady up there. But, you look at technology the way it is now, and this day and time, you're always saying so-and-so gets hacked, so-and-so, everybody, that possibility is always there. And I always worry about, okay, if somebody would hack well, we're very secure. Thank you, Ms. Probst. I know we are. We have all kinds of firewalls. But technology, we have seen it over and over where things can be hacked. And, the thought, if something got hacked and all this information would be out there, I would not want that. And the less information that's out there, then the less that they could hack. And that's where I have a problem with. I'm not going to say any more, but that's where I have a problem.
All right. Ms. Furtenbaugh?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and I will make the motion here in a moment. I just want to say, in particular, the secondary level, we do have it split between elementary and secondary. I don't want to harm the students from getting accepted into colleges, being recognized. There are certain things, and this information is not posted on a website, right, Ms. Rhymer?
Correct.
This is upon permissible request. So this is not something that somebody can come in and say, of course, unless they breach the system. But keep in mind, it does not have Social Security number in here, and that in combination with the name, the address, and the birth date is what someone would need to make this valuable information. This is not financial data on any person, so there would be a far greater interest in someone breaking into a system if there was financial information. So having said that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we approve this policy as presented.
Ms. Furtenbaugh makes the motion, and Mr. Furr seconds it. Any more discussion on Policy 4700? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, so that motion carries 5-2 with Mr. Powell and Ms. Carpenter dissenting. All right, that carries us to the approval of the new Mount Pleasant Middle School furniture purchase. Mr. Lowder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we talked at the last meeting in our session about our furniture order was over budget, but we had worked with them to modify the requirements of that order, and we did get a finalized price back that is actually about $70,000 below our budget, which does then allow us to have a couple set asides, which is about $40,000 for janitorial supplies and that sort of thing, and janitorial equipment, and then another $30,000 of stuff for like exterior furniture, lawnmowers, and whatever else might be needed by the school at that time. So we feel pretty good about this pricing, and we recommend award.
Board members, are there comments for Mr. Lowder? Mr. Harrison?
Just an echo of every time we discuss furniture, I guess we ask what is done with the previous furniture, the furniture from the old building. Is it still salvageable? I kind of know the answer, but I just wanted to raise that to see what is done or what the next steps might be with anything that's reusable from the older building.
Some items will actually be taken to the new school, and then the other items will come back into our warehouse and then be graded and refurbished, and those that are usable will go back out to replace those in our system that may be of less value than we have. And anything that's beyond salvageable then is placed up for auction and sold at auction. Yes, sir.
Other comments or questions for Mr. Lowder? All right, board members, is there a motion to approve the furniture purchase? Mr. Harrison makes the motion, seconded by Mr. Walters. All right, any discussion? None other? All right, let's go with the vote. All in favor of approving the purchase of the middle school furniture for the new Mount Pleasant Middle School, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, that motion carries 7-0. That carries us to the approval of the Royal Oaks construction schedule adjustment. Mr. Lowder is still at the podium. Are there questions for him? Seeing none? Oh,
I
Ms.
would just like
Burtonbaugh?
him to, or you, Mr. Chairman, to state for the public's purpose what this is about.
At this time, we're not asking you to set the completion date of the construction. What we're asking you to do is the authority for Dr. Lowder, his designee, to be able to negotiate the delay of the completion date, seeing as we do not have use for the school for 6 months later than we normally would have. That allows us then to have that flexibility when we are doing work with the contractor and changes come up and weather-related issues come up. It allows us that flexibility to be able to negotiate up until a final date of May 31st at the latest. It may finish before then, but it allows us that flexibility.
So,
Ms. Burtonbaugh.
okay, so this would move the expected opening of the new Royal Oaks Elementary
To August
to
2018.
the fall of 2018.
Yes, ma'am, August 2018. By finishing completion on May 31st, it gives us about 2.5, 3 months to be prepared.
All right, so
I move to move the opening of Royal Oaks to August 2018.
That's not.
no, the motion is okay. Did you just second that? So the motion. Mr. Powell made a motion. Mr. Powell made a motion to approve the opening of Royal Oaks in the fall of 2018. Is that right, Mr. Powell? Mr. Harrison, did you second that?
I apologize. Please let me withdraw that. Spoke too soon.
But, Mr. Chair, do we actually need Mr. Powell's vote first, because the end of this motion says, based on a revised opening date for the school? So do we actually need two motions?
Well, we never got this other motion taken care of. He jumped
Yeah, but you
this
have to
one.
do the revised opening date first.
Right,
So that you
but
can make the second
but since
motion.
he doesn't, right now, there's not a second to his motion, so it looks like it'll die.
I'll second it.
Okay, yeah, there's a second. All right, so now is there discussion on the motion to open Royal Oaks in the August 2018, the new Royal Oaks?
The only thing, there will be
Comments?
there will be conversation with all parties involved, parents and everything, with this, since we had discussed about, before that, opening it in January, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I'm currently working with the principals and the staff there to work on a timeline to communicate all of that. It also is aligned with, obviously, redistricting, and so we want to make sure this timeline is very correct before we start doing a lot of that. So we're meeting, and that should start happening pretty soon. We'll get you guys a timeline. You should have that by the time we go to our retreat as well.
Are there other comments? Ms. Furtenbaugh?
Could I just amend Mr. Powell's motion to clarify that the revised opening date for the school is expected to be August of 2018?
All right, there is a revision motion out there. A revision to the motion to,
And actually, we probably need to say this whole statement.
yes.
It's maybe, Sarah, can we start over? From
Do you want
Robert's
to
rules.
amend your amendment? How about that?
I'll amend my amendment to include in Mr. Powell's statement that the board approved negotiation of a revised construction completion date with Edison Ford for the new Royal Oaks Elementary School based on a revised opening date for the school expected to be August 2018.
Did you actually put a completion date of May 31st? Or what did you put for the completion date?
Yeah, completion date, May the 31st.
Okay.
Yeah, the revised opening date for the school would be August of 2018.
Right, but you
And completion date, May 31st of 2018.
But you were talking about a revised, can you read it, please, Miss Stone? Because I thought
Certainly. As I heard it, she revised the motion to start with what the drafted recommended motion is, that the board approved negotiation of a revised construction completion date with Edison Ford for the new Royal Oaks Elementary School based on a revised opening date for the school of August 2018. So the only date in the motion is the opening date, and the motion will then grant the superintendent and staff the ability to negotiate what the construction completion date will be in order for the school to open in August 2018.
The May date is just guidance for Mr. Lowder
That's
to work with the contractor.
Yes.
all right, Mr. Powell, Mr. Walter, are y'all satisfied with the amended motion? Okay. Any more discussion on the amended motion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, that motion carries. And that carries us to convening in closed session. And we will convene in closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, etc. Also, the General Statute 143-318.11A6 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer, employee, etc. Also, pursuant to General Statute 115C-319 through 321, and to discuss the Cabarrus County Board of Education versus the NC State Employees Retirement System. Is there a motion to vote on going into closed session?
I'll second that.
Mr. Furr makes the motion and Ms. Carpenter seconds it. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. We are now in closed session.